I urge you, gentle you, to please not spend your spirit dry. Especially do not lose hope, most particularly because the fact is we were made for these times. These lines from the letter to a young activist during troubled times, written a few years ago by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, could have been written this morning to all of us as we arrive here over the threshold of this community the day after the Poor People's Campaign rally at the State House. The rally reminding us of the impact of our legislation and choices on the most vulnerable in our society. Poor people across the nation gathered at the State House, those in support, those on the margins, giving voice to oppose the toxic politics of division, gun violence, poor health care, and poverty. And still, we do not lose hope. As I looked out over the gathered crowd yesterday at the State House, you were there. This congregation is a congregation committed to its neighbors, committed to creating and sustaining beloved community. Last year, the congregation worked together creating UUCC's covenant, grounding your relationship in a practice of trust, practicing after all, still learning. It's an ongoing process. Through the last few years, the Unitarian Universalist Community Church of Augusta rose to meet the challenges and changing of professional ministry. It seemed like perhaps a rotating door. UUCC weaved commitment, love, compassion, and joy into the life you shared, the life you share, and the life that invites others to join. Somehow, through all the awkwardness, missteps, challenges, the strength and commitment of community buoyed momentum forward. Each person here is a steward to the community, whether you are here for the first time today, joining in this community, or if you've been here for many years, as Dale has, and participated in many opportunities of stewardship. Perhaps you sent a note to somebody who was grieving, made a phone call, provided hospitality by setting up tables and chairs, making coffee the other UU sacrament, bringing snacks. We also believe in coming together to dance and sing and celebrate because we understand that joy is another way to create resilience, and joy is resistance. When I arrived last August, the vibrancy of this congregation would be hard to miss. It was present in the care of this building, in the fundraising work crews, in the tender outreach during times of immeasurable loss. We create space together. The joy and sense of community brought to the work of maintaining this community through all of those transitions is evident, and the gifts that you all offer are present. Financial stewardship season, and I say financial stewardship season because actual stewardship season doesn't have a kickoff. It's the people who show up to unlock the doors. It's the people who answer the phone. It's the people who work with others to create music. But financial stewardship invites us to ask what we want to create more of in the world. knowing that our commitment to love and justice can move glaciers. Over the years, Kate, my spouse, and I have had conversations about stewardship and pledging, and we talked about our commitment to communities. When we pledge, we often reflect on how foundational communities are to us. It was my first UU congregation where the pieces of my life were held with love over years of transition, where I found my call to ministry, and where I developed friendships that sustained me through challenging times. It was where I met Claire and Mary Kay, who showed up every Thursday morning and stayed all day, offering me respite the winter my mother was dying. And so we think about our communities. We talk about our love for our faith and our hope for the future. What do you think about during this particular time of financial stewardship? I'd like to tell you a story about Evelyn. Evelyn migrated to the US from Canada to work in an aviation factory during World War II. She spent her entire life living below the poverty level and later retiring on a limited income. She was a quiet woman who didn't have a car or a driver's license, so her daily life encompassed the nearby market, the credit union, her church, volunteer work at the local Head Start. In her adventures about town, she never met a stranger, and on many occasions, she invited brand new friends over for dinner and dessert. When Evelyn was killed in a car accident, the door to her private life opened. It was then that her daughter learned about the deep generosity and love that drove her mother's life. Her checkbook is where she and her sisters discovered how remarkable their mother was. They found checks to the Abused Women's Advocacy Project, St. Jude's Children's Hospital, disabled vets, Camp Sunshine for kids with cancer, and of course, her church. Not just the church operating budget. Evelyn had donated to the capital campaign that would rebuild the steeple of the mid-19th century Basilica St. Peter and Paul in Lewiston, Maine. Now, at the end of the month, she didn't really have many coins to rub together. But she did find her capacity in all of that challenge to give. Her daughter realized she had seriously underestimated her mother. Not because her mother didn't know about this stuff, but her mother did not talk about this stuff. It was a silent act of love, kindness, and generosity for her mom. This church is a generous, loving, and kind community. In thinking about our beloved community, I invite you to reflect on the kinds of connections that this community has nurtured over time, over the last 100 years, the last 30, the last 10 or 5, or perhaps even last week. We are creating community together. We create connections, nurturing in times of need, inspiring to reach beyond the walls and seek justice, a place for joy and grief. And somewhere between the noise, somewhere within the silence of our collective breath, we gather ourselves and our energies for resistance, for acts of justice, showing up when You thought it would be a really warm day because it was 45, but you find out that after 2 or 3 hours, it gets really cold at the rallies, and you stay. And you stayed. Your stewardship of this community ensures the legacy of UUCC. It allows you in this space to follow your own spiritual path. Your stewardship and care of this community ensures that when the next new person arrives, and they will, and they have, that we invite them to help then recreate the community we are. A pledge is an act of love and a decision to believe in the future of the Unitarian Universalist Community Church. A pledge is a promise to help co-create our faith community, to support all it already has to offer, and to imagine that our generosity will create a future that will continue to make a difference in 10, 50, 100 or 200 years from now. I wonder how the lives of the next generation and the next will be changed by the ministry of this congregation. How will the legacy we are building now be described 200 years from now?